Are you racist? Are you sexist? Are you anti-Semitic? And do you want to get away with it? Because this video is how to get away with being a racist author. Specifically, racist author, alright? Now, this is an advice video, and it's a different kind of advice video. I'm going to be teaching you how to be an asshole. Now, I don't recommend this. Don't be a racist piece of shit, okay? Don't do anything in this video. This video is an educational video. It's really trying to explore how authors get away with racism rather than how you could get away with it. But let's have a bit of a role play. You are a wannabe racist, okay? You don't like those people, those kinds, all right? Walking around in your country. And so you don't want to join the diversity woke mob, and you're not gonna be pushed around. But you're looking for a nice strategy because they are really popular and you wanna sell and they could get you canceled, so you don't wanna get canceled. You still wanna make money. You racist piece of shit, let's go. I'm gonna teach you how to get away with being a racist author, all right? All the clear, well-defined strategies that they use, all right? Let's do this, but please don't do this. One word, okay? You need to be clever with this, okay? You don't like those kinds of people walking around in your own land telling you what to do. So you need to understand, in order to win the public court, you need something called deniability, all right? Diplomatic ambiguity is a political term. Well, in your case, what you need to do is, what? Deniability. You don't want to be clear-cut with things, okay? You want to make money off of this diversity shit, but you don't want to actually do diversity. You want to have tokens. You want to have characters that don't represent these people but look like them perhaps. You need to carry deniability. That is your biggest weapon. Why? Because in the public court, if you carry one reason that your fans, the people who really love your books and stories, to defend you, even though you're an asshole and you know it deep down, even though you are a sick monster and you know it deep down, a racist piece of shit, you give them reasons, you basically give them the reasons that they can use to defend you. So you have to carry deniability in all cases. And so to get around diversity, to write diversity that is in appearance without really having to write actual diversity of these cultures, the different ways they think, actually doing research on their folklore, on their history, on their struggles, understanding their culture in a more refined manner as a proper artist should do. Instead, you want to get around it. You just want to have the visual representation of diversity so that you can make money off of diversity. You can commodify it. I mean, when Google or some of these big corporations like Apple put up, you know, rainbow flags on their logo, in other countries, in the Middle East, for instance, where homophobia is basically law, they don't do that. They don't do that. Exactly. They do it where they can make money off of commodifying queer representation. And you want to commodify diversity. All right? So what you're going to do is carry deniability. How to do that? Few ways. I'm going to explain them to you. Well, let's say you're an American, all right? Or you come from the West, all right? Let's assume that for this video. Okay, so the one thing you can do is that your character, they are Chinese, they are Malay, they are, you know, Indonesian, they are Singaporean, they are Vietnamese, they are Japanese, South Korean, or North Korean, however. Not North Korean, South Korean. However, they are second-generation migrant, meaning they were born in America. This means you can basically write a white man who looks like a Chinese man. Yeah, you just get away with diversity without having diversity. So you can have an action hero, but he's a Chinese looking guy, and he fits the same description in terms of behavior, in terms of like how he thinks, how he sees the world, as like Die Hard, the protagonist of Die Hard. Exactly. And so in that particular way, you can have diversity, skin diversity, right? Skin deep diversity. In this particular case, what will happen is if you get attacked by people who actually are disappointed with your writing, because your writing was awful, your fans can jump to your defense and say, hey, that's an American, Chinese American. Yeah, he did a good job characterizing him, all right? And you can make money off of the appearance of a Chinese person and the ease or the less difficulty and doing none of the work, actually. Exactly. And number two, another thing you can do is, this is narrative number two that you can use to exploit diversity. It is basically rediscovery, all right? The character is a Westerner, okay? They are an American or British or whatever they might be, but they are essentially like Black American or Chinese American, and they are rediscovering their home country. And so you can have a Chinese American go back to China, rediscovering their culture, their roots. Or you can explore what it's like to be caught between two cultures. But if there is any mistake that you make, which you're going to make, it can be easily swept aside by your fans. Why? Because that can be part of the story. The character is supposed to make mistakes. You actually are five-head, you are Gigamind, you're a brainiac author who it looks like he's making a mistake, but the character is supposed to make those mistakes. So it's a good storytelling. In fact, I'm ahead of you. Back off. Exactly. So your fans are going to jump to your defense simply because, and in a very direct way, it's a rediscovery story. It's caught between two cultures story. Like the same situation, not black enough, not white enough. And any speech discrepancies, any behavior discrepancies can be easily explained away by saying, this character is not supposed to be black enough, but they're also not white enough, and they get caught between two cultures. And the story is about exploring that, right? But you could just use that to hide the fact that you didn't do any research and you want to make money off of the fact that we have a black character. Let's actually jump into the next narrative that you can use, the next trick, the next wink wink, okay? And this is basically the power that all fantasy writers have, okay? In the Fantasy Writer's Handbook of Excuses, all right? Page 96, you're going to find an excuse. And that excuse basically is inspiration. You want to write about Japanese. So you want to do, for example, a fantasy story where the characters are Japanese and the world building is heavily inspired by Japan. Exactly. You took creative liberties. Exactly. See? Because you're a fantasy author. This is a fictional world. It's inspired by Japan, but it's not Japan. For example, a particular book that I hated last year that I read was Storm Dancer. That book did such an awful job of actually representing anything about Japan. Everything was just surface level. Everything was just appearance, and the author makes blatant mistakes. And you can read the reviews for this book, and you'll find plenty of people who point out even linguistic mistakes, okay? Meaning the author really just wanted to make money off of the Japanese likeness, all right? The likeness of the Japanese people, and he wanted to commodify that. Well, you can do that. In fact, he got away with it. He's one of the most successful fantasy authors that we have. Everybody can easily get away with it because fantasy authors are never liable. No fantasy author could ever be liable for anything. The primary reason why is because they have the ultimate excuse, inspiration. I took inspiration from these groups of people. I didn't want to copy the entire culture. And, you know, that is something that no one will argue about. In fact, many of your fans are going to jump to your defense if you're writing a fantasy story. You can easily get away with it. Every fantasy author enjoys this privilege. Black, white, Asian, whatever you might be. We all have this privilege, all right? Literary authors don't have this. Historical fiction authors don't have this. Romance authors don't have this. We do, okay? We, the fantasy authors, declare we are immune to the woke mob. No fandoms, it's very difficult to get cancelled. You have to be stupid to get cancelled, all right? And finally, if everything fails and you cannot get away, and they got you by the balls, all right? They figured through all of your excuses because you messed up that badly. You didn't even do 1 day or 2 days of research. Instead, you just said, Japan, all right, let's go. Okay? You can basically declare yourself against the woke mob, all right? Don't forget, and never forget, half of the West are conservative people. All right, basically they have been conditioned over many years through media to have a knee-jerk response to particular words, keywords. One of those keywords is the woke mob. Another keyword is political correctness. And so if you can basically use buzzwords and keywords, humans are as a monkey. You can essentially trigger their defense of you. So it's blatant, case closed. However, you still get defended by your fans because now you are a hero. You are standing up to the woke mob. You are not politically correct. You are not a snowflake. You are a proper white man or a proper whatever you might be. And you will not be silenced, all right? Freedom of speech. And you can sell it as freedom of speech because that narrative works. And you must understand this as a novelist, all right? This should not be news to you. You, as a novelist, must understand, and you must have had this in your head. You can easily always spin a narrative. You have to understand. If you do that, you know what's going to happen? You'll go from someone whose career was cancelled and you were going to die off, your career was over, to appearing on Fox News, and tomorrow you have 100,000 book sales. All right? Exactly. You're going to become a hero for being racist, and you're going to get away with it because that's the way society is set up. And so this is going to make you rich. The fact that you messed up is going to make you rich. And if you don't mess up, you're still going to be rich in the long run because you commodified the black skin or the Asian likeness and so on and so forth. You always make money. That's the point, right? So don't do any of this, by the way. Yes. So that's going to be it for this video. I hope that you really understand. I don't support that you do any of this. This is to showcase how depressingly bad the situation is. This is to showcase how you can easily spin a narrative always, and you can easily get away with it. All right? Even when you mess up, you can still end up richer. And that's sad. The way I see it, that's tremendously sad. So I think you shouldn't do it. I really think you shouldn't do it. Don't be a racist piece of shit. Always understand. As a proper artist, do the research. Who, as a writer, you must have heard the following advice as a writer, all right? You must have heard travel. Why do people say travel to writers, okay? That's because a writer with an understanding, a proper understanding of other people, other cultures, is going to write a deeper, more meaningful, more honest, more reflective story. You don't want to spend your entire life encased in one bubble. You don't want to spend your entire life in one side of the world. You want to travel around. You want to understand other humans. You want to understand where they're coming from. And so I advocate for that. I think you should get out there. I think you should work very hard to see other people, not as those, but as these brothers, these other humans. They behave in this way. I behave in this way. You have to understand your culture, your way of doing things is not the only way. Okay, meaning to become a proper artist, you have to have culture shock. Right? You have to be shocked by being exposed to other cultures. And so this will enhance your understanding of humanity, helping you write better characters, more reflective, deeper stories. That's my belief, and please don't do any of these advices in this video. I hope that you enjoyed this. Have a nice day, and tell me what you think down in the comments below. Bye.